Hi guys, I hope you guys enjoyed my interpretation on this year's Euphonium lyrical selection entitled F major. I didn't play the whole thing because this one is super mega long, like it's over 3 minutes, and I just don't want to bore you guys playing through it. So I just played, a nice chunk from the beginning, which really sets the explanation of how the etude works. All right, let's just get right into it. We're gonna cover everything in this video. Perfect. All right, guys, so here's the thing with this etude. It's not that it looks okay, it looks more complicated than it is. And this is what I mean by that. So check it out. I took the first line. Look, here's the first line of the etude, right? This etude, it just looks fancy and it looks tricky and it looks like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. But guess what? It's so simple. So check it out. This first line that I have right here of the etude, let's make it into something easier that we can read. So check it out. Right there, it's the comparison of the two exact same things. So there we have first the top line of the etude, and then we have the simplified version that we can read. What I'm trying to say is it's the exact same thing. What this etude is doing, we're giving the eighth note the downbeat. What does that mean? You know how we give in common time, we have like as the 4/4, the quarter note gets the downbeat. Well, let's pretend that the eighth notes are the quarter notes. So what's that gonna make the beginning? If the eighth notes are quarter notes, that beginning, quarter note's gonna turn into a half note, right? Quote unquote half note, because the eighth note, it's getting the downbeat. That means that, that quarter note, there's two eighth notes in there, meaning, they're gonna get two beats. So that's honestly, that's the whole etude. That's what it's doing. It's just, it's, he didn't want to write it in 3/4, because he wants to make it hard, right? Well, tricky. So he made it into where the eighth note gets the downbeat, just to throw us off. But does that make it simple? I hope it does, because that's the whole etude. It's so everything is being turned into a fancy way from a normal 3/4. That's all it's doing. All right, guys. So now that we're absorbing what everything I just said, previously, I made y'all a chart that's gonna help help you guys ease through this etude super easy. I hope that's even the way you say it. But anyways, here's the chart. Here you go. There's the chart, and in that chart, it just explains how the notes work. 30-second notes turn into 60 notes, and 60 notes turn into 8 notes. Like I said, we mentioned, right? Who's getting the downbeat? The 8 note, right? So I was comparing it to cut time. You know how in cut time, we split everything by half, right? A half note turns into a quarter note, and etc. Well, this one, we're adding a half almost, right? The 8 note gets the downbeat. That means, we're gonna turn that quarter note into a half note. So it's like a reverse cut time, I like to call it, right? But yeah, that's the whole summary with this etude, is that everything is just up by half, right? You know what I mean? And with using that glossary that I gave y'all, right there is gonna ease it up. Oh, perfect. All right, guys, so check it out. We're studying the key of F major, right? The F major scale. But, right, this one, like all the other etudes, like especially like the B minor we talked about in the other video, the scale of F major here, he throws us a lot of different other stuff, right? That's not in the F major scale, Circle every note that does not, correspond with the F major scale. And you know what? Here we go. I did it for y'all right here. Right there. So check it out. All those notes, and if I miss some, I'm sorry, but yeah, you guys get the idea. Circle all the different notes, that are not familiar with the F major scale, just so we can be, mentally ready. So whenever we get to those passages, oh, that's the B natural. Oh, that's the F sharp. Oh, that's the etc. Right? Perfect. The biggest battle that you're gonna be fighting with this etude is honestly reminding yourself that 60 notes are gonna be 8 notes now, and 30-second notes are gonna be the 60 notes. It's just getting that in your head, that you're reading a little bit different, right? You're not reading the classic, 3/4. It's still quote unquote 3/4 because the 8 note gets the downbeat, right? So just remember that the whole battle of this etude is going to be you familiarizing yourself that, oh, now I'm upping everything by half, right? As we mentioned. So check it out. I split this etude into 4 practice chunks. So into these 4 practice chunks, in the matter of, let's say, 6 to 7 weeks, right? Because like I told you guys, we need to progress slowly, right? Because slowly wins the race. I would do one chunk that from the ones I'm about to give you all, one chunk every, one for 2 weeks or one every week at least. So check it out. That's it. But remember, we need to be going through it nice and slow. And how do we progress slow etudes, right? How do we do those? Because the tempo is, it's slow, so we're gonna be able to play it. Here's the challenge. So with slow etudes, we need to build endurance, right? Especially like for the very bottom. The very bottom is a lot of high stuff. How do we build endurance? The tempo markings for TMEA, here we go. These are the tempo markings. Let's go super under. Like I'm talking 50, 56. Why? Because we need to get not tired, but we need to build the endurance. We need to build it so much, being under tempo. So whenever we get faster, up in the 70s, that is gonna make us so much stronger in our faces. We're gonna build embouchure strength right there. The ending really emphasize, it has a lot of accents. Accents we have at different articulations. We have, even the fancy stuff. We have trills at the very last line. Those trills, I would recommend leaving the fancy stuff, like I say in every videos. Leave the fancy stuff till later. Let's first learn, the whole etude, the whole concept, the whole, as it is, and then later adding the fancy stuff like the grace notes. Wait on the grace notes. Wait on the trills. And wait on any other fancy stuff that I might have missed. Guys, that's it. That's the summary. That's the whole summary. I believe I covered everything. If there's something that's maybe not clear enough, let me know in the comments. I read them all the time. But remember, as I said, on the ATSSV video, this is the lyrical selection. This is where you're gonna stick out from everybody else. So this one, really take it to heart, and let's build the endurance, right? Like I said, on the other videos that the previous video, lifting, small, little weights at a time, so we get to our goal. Okay, guys, that's the summary of this etude. If there's any other questions, please let me know. I am gonna answer everything, like I said, as to either DM me or anything. Feel free to DM me. I'll be here. Yeah, and I hope you guys found these videos useful. Have a good rest of your night, everybody, or do you have a good rest of your day? Thank you for watching.